Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at onpurposely.com.
I'm Julie Lyles-Carr. You're listening to God on the Go, part of the Purposely Podcast Network, where we help you make the minutes matter. And it is that time again. If you're a regular listener, every few episodes, we have what we call the car quiz, where you get to take a look at all the things you've been learning in the previous episodes, see how good your memory is, maybe be reminded of some amazing fact that you learned in the process of listening to the previous episodes. And so we've got a great one here for you today. Maybe you're on the road going to travel to visit grandma, or you're getting ready to go on a trip over the Christmas holidays. Maybe you're finding this episode in June or July or August. Whenever you are showing up for this episode, I want to encourage you, if you haven't had a chance yet, to go listen to the previous episodes in this series, which is all about getting ready, Advent, getting ready. Go back and listen to those, and that way you'll probably be able to ace this entire car quiz. So let's test your knowledge. Get ready. We've been talking about getting ready. We have been talking about what the word Advent means. You know, Advent is part of the word in the word adventure. It means getting ready to go and see exciting things, that you are anticipating what's coming. And we talked about the fact that while a lot of us think about Advent in terms of the countdown to Christmas, what it really means and what it's really talking about is Jesus coming back. Jesus coming again. That's really what Advent means, and looking toward that. And so we talked about what it means to be ready to go, how we can be ready to see, how we can be ready to stay, and how we can be ready for tomorrow. So I've got some great trivia facts for you. And so let's get ready and see how you do on this edition of God on the Go Car Quiz. All right, here we go. When was the first Advent calendar made? The first Advent calendar. Do you remember? In the first episode in this series, we talked about the fact that most of us, when we think about Advent, we think about Advent calendars. You know, those little ones that you can get that are made of cardboard that maybe have a chocolate or a treat in each door as you count down the days till Christmas. But really what Advent is about, like we were saying a little earlier, is looking forward to the coming of Christ. And I'm still really glad we do Advent calendars because I think they're so fun. So, when was the first Advent calendar made? Do you remember from that episode? Okay, here's the answer. The first handmade wooden Advent calendar that we know about was built in 1851. Almost 200 years ago. 1851 was the first Advent calendar. Okay, here is our second trivia question. Are you ready? We talked about on the episode Ready to Go, how sometimes we can procrastinate. We don't really want to do the thing that we know we need to do. We're kind of holding out. We're not really sure we want to do it. And yet how important it can be to be ready to go when God tells us it is time to go. So here was the question. How many college students say they procrastinate doing their assignments and studying? How many of them say they put off doing their assignments and studying for school? Do you remember? 50%. That is a lot of procrastinating. And we talked about that we want to be ready to go. We don't want to put off what we know would be best. We don't want to put off what we know is coming that needs to be done. And so to stay in a place, in a heart, in obedience where we're getting our stuff done. So 50% of college students say they procrastinate. That's a lot of procrastinating. Okay, you ready for the next one? How are you doing so far? Are you doing good? Okay, so here's the next one. We talked about being ready to see. And as part of being ready to see, that means that we're looking for the good. We're looking for where God is doing things instead of getting distracted by the things that can come in or the complaints people have or people around us who only point out the bad. We want to be ready to see. So the question that we asked was, the fact we found out about was, which animal has the very best eyesight, can see the very best? Do you remember? I'll give you a minute. Okay, here we go. The answer is the eagle. An eagle can see a rabbit from almost 2 miles away. Can you imagine having the kind of eyesight where you could spot a tiny little rabbit from 2 miles away? That is just crazy to me. I think it's just an absolutely incredible fact. Okay, here's the next one. Ready to stay. This was the episode where we talked about that sometimes we need to be ready to go. We are ready to go on this adventure. And sometimes God asks us to stay in something. Sometimes He asks us to stay on a particular team or stay at a particular school or stay in a particular youth group, even though sometimes we might feel like we want to go. We don't want to be part of it anymore. Sometimes God does ask us to stay. So I asked the question, what percentage of Americans leave their home every day? They are on the go. They make sure they get away from the house every day, or they have commitments that take them away from their homes. What percentage? You ready? I'll give you a second. Okay, the answer is 90% of Americans leave their homes at least once a day, and usually more. I was looking up some other facts on how many errands Americans run every day. It is wild how much we are on the go as a nation, as a culture, and yet there are times that God just wants us to stay, to rest, to remain. So I thought that was a really interesting fact. Okay. Here's our final trivia question. How are you doing? Have you been a good listener? Are you remembering a lot of these facts? Okay, here's the last one. This had to do with being ready for tomorrow. Now, if you've been listening to these episodes when they are coming out, the day they are coming out, then you know that this episode had to do with being ready for tomorrow for Christmas, because that episode was coming out on Christmas Eve, which is super exciting. And I shared with you that my brothers and I, we hardly ever slept on Christmas Eve when we were kids. And even now, as a grown-up, I'm so excited on Christmas Eve. I just don't sleep very much. I'm so excited about what's coming the next day. And yet we also talked about that what Advent really means is about Jesus coming and being excited about Jesus coming back for us and what that will mean. So here was the question. What is the average time kids wake up on Christmas morning? Do you remember? Think about how tired you are when you get up in the morning and you really don't want to have to get up and start getting ready and brush your teeth and go to school or go to work or whatever you have going on. And yet on Christmas morning, we are so excited about what's coming. A lot of us just wake right up. Do you remember the average time kids woke up on Christmas morning? You ready? The answer is 6:45 a.m. and they are ready to go. So I would say in this house, I've had kids wake up even earlier than that. So that's just the average time. But imagine being able to wake up every day at 6:45 a.m. and be super excited about it and full of energy. That's how it is on Christmas morning. I have loved taking a look at what it means to be ready, to be in a posture and a heart of Advent, and hopefully to be in that place all year long, not just at Christmas. Always ready to go on an adventure with God, always ready to go, always ready to see things through God's eyes, ready to stay when He asks you to remain somewhere, and always ready for tomorrow, because Jesus could come back at any time. And when we stay ready and we stay excited about that, then we are able to truly experience the excitement of Christmas all year long, no matter when you're listening to this episode. We are going to be coming back next week with a brand new series where we're going to be talking about feelings, all kinds of interesting feelings, maybe feelings that you haven't thought about before or you haven't had a word for. We're going to be talking about that place where we feel all kinds of things and learning about why God created our feelings, what He has to say about it when we're feeling certain ways. I can't wait for this new series, and I hope that you'll join me. And I would love it if you would text the word GO, that's G-O, to the number 89419, that's 89419, and we'll send you text with memory verses and trivia facts and discussion questions and all kinds of cool stuff. So be sure and do that, and I'll see you next time on God on the Go.